Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Afternoon Market Action. My name is Glenn.
My name is Patrick.
And we're here as your host today to tell you about what's rocking and rolling in the market, interesting about what's going on in the market. And we're going to break down and give our own analysis. And, not all the time does it match up, but that's a good thing because you got two different personalities here analyzing the market as well as news and stocks. If you're brand new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so that you'll be alerted when new live streams and videos come out. It's the only way you're going to be alerted. So you got to be able to hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon. If you like the content, hit the like button. See, these are free, but at least it lets us know if it was worth your time to stop by and hang out with us today when we talk about the market. So don't forget to hit that like button. and comment. Let us know what you think about what we're talking about, whether you agree, disagree, whichever. It doesn't matter. Everybody's got a right to opinion. If you can hear us loud and clear, please respond in the chat, preferably with VV Nation, and let me know where you guys are tuning in from before we get started. Martin is here, says Glenn and Patrick, ooh-wee. Yeah, that's the war cry of the Jockey Club, baby. Ooh-wee. Roger's talking to Drew. Drew is talking to Roger. Roger's tuning in from Arizona. You guys got the case of the Mondays. I don't see a lot of chat going on. It ain't Monday. It's Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. It's hump day. Mike. What day is it? It's hump day. John is tuning in from Massachusetts. Robert is here from California. Mike is here from Toronto. I'm here. I'm from New York. And Patrick is here. He's from somewhere in Virginia. West Virginia, South Virginia, the other Virginia, some Virginia.
The good Virginia.
Gospel G's here from Dayton, Ohio. Drew says it's a hot hump day. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is a hot hump day. It's hot. What's the temperature right now? It's about 90 degrees here in North Carolina. Ryan is from Massachusetts. Jawahar is from Georgia. Jim used to be a member of our user group here in the Charlotte area, is here from Boone. How about that? Radio blah, blah, Leiden here from the Netherlands. I love that we got people who are from all over the world tuning in. Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Taylor says it's hot in Arizona. It's hot in here. You know something? It's getting hot in here. I'm going to take off all my clothes. I am getting so hot. I'm going to take my... Okay, anyway.
It's always hot in
Thank
Arizona,
you all
though.
for tuning in. Thank you all for letting me know where you guys are coming from. Fernando, where we can handle the heat. I hear that. Juju is here from Chicago. Man, just a lot of people here. I'm glad to hear that. All right. So with that all being said, let's talk about what's going on in the market. Robert says, bonjour, Glenn and Patrick. I'm assuming that's from Canada. Bonjour, Glenn and Patrick. Thank you all for your insights from Montreal, South Shore. Very hot here, too. It don't get hot in Canada. It's Canada. It don't get hot in Canada. I think you got one day of summer in all of Canada. I think that you do. I think it's like that in Ohio. I think you get one day of hot in all of Ohio. That's what I think. With all of this heat, are you still drinking hot Cafe Bustelo? Yeah, I have my Cafe Bustelo. I don't care what the temperature is. I'm finna have me some Cafe Bustelo.
Can you make cold coffee with Cafe Bustelo?
No, I don't do cold coffee. Coffee is meant to be hot. So personally, I'm not doing cold coffee. That's not my deal. All right. With that, let's talk about what's going on in the market. Let's go to the news stories. How do I get there, Joey, before I start messing around with stuff? Yeah, okay. There we go. Joey is here. Say hi, Joey. He's my producer, but he's here producing the both of us today. Just one story I have in regards to what's going on in the market from an inflation standpoint. Ugly inflation numbers make a recession more likely in 2022, economist says. I put out a story on inflation. I put it Recession 2022. How many of you watched the Recession 2022 video on the YouTube channel? Type a 1. If you didn't watch it yet, type a 2. I do say yet. I think that I put a lot of information in between that video in regards to whether or not we were in a recession or not. And I stated that, a lot of people already feel that we are in a recession. A lot of people feel that we're not going to get into a recession. So I laid out what a recession was all about. And my biggest thing is that we had 2 quarters of GDP negative. But the other side of saying that you're in a full-blown recession is the work numbers. We're still at 3.6% unemployment, low number for unemployment. But what the number doesn't take into effect is all of the people who have left the work marketplace no longer looking for work. So what does that mean for you? Well, if there's a lot of people looking for jobs, but they're pulling from a smaller pool of people with high inflation and all of these different things, and you go to a restaurant and the restaurant is halfway filled and they're still looking for people to work there, and you got to wait 40 minutes to an hour just to get seated in a half-filled restaurant, The jobs number looks good, but how many people are out there actually looking for jobs? Now we always look at the jobs numbers that come out on Thursdays, every Thursday or Friday. Um, and it keeps fluctuating back and forth. Jobs numbers are good, jobs numbers are bad. Job numbers are good, job numbers are bad. And I still not thinking that we're not looking at the amount of people who've pulled out of looking for a job. So I'm putting that up there. Why is marijuana moving to Jay's? Says Joe. I don't know if there's any legislation. I don't know if there's any legislation currently in the Congress about marijuana. Nothing that I've heard, and it could. So I don't have a full on answer. Patrick, do you have an answer about why marijuana is moving today?
I haven't seen anything, but I mean, we're getting close to the end of the summer, beginning of fall. Usually we have Congress getting back together, so maybe on hopes of that. I don't know.
And Lou is right. Unemployment numbers reflects only people collecting unemployment, not people looking for a job. But I'm putting the whole thing together from a jobs number of the unemployed people. If people are pulling out of the job market, they're not even receiving unemployment checks. So that is the basis behind what I'm talking about, Lou. That's the basis behind what I'm talking about. So what do you think in regards to inflation? I know how you feel about the Fed and understanding or that even with the Fed raising interest rates, that that's not going to affect inflation. To a certain degree, I disagree, but to a certain degree, I do agree. I think that when you slow down the economy, it pulls inflation down. And the whole idea of raising the interest rates is to shrink the economy. You do that, inflation should come down. That's the way it's supposed to work. Inflation should come down. But I know you have a whole different appeal to it because while the Fed chief was up on the Hill, asked by Elizabeth Warren, does this work? He said no. But I think that there's still more behind it. A shrinking economy affects the whole idea of unemployment. That's the same as well. Whatever. All right. What's your feel? What's your take?
I mean, I'm kind of wondering, after the big sell-off we've seen in the market, if it comes out, we have 2 negative GDP quarters, then all of a sudden markets say, oh, it's priced in, then the markets start to take off. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what the numbers come out as and how they're going to spin the story.
All right. With that, now I need to go to the software. I can just click here, right? All right. So there. So by looking at the whole story with inflation, look at the big move that happened both on the spiders yesterday. Had a little bit of a wedge. I'm going to call that because it dropped below. Had a little bit of a wedge, broke out of the wedge. Continuing today, but look at the selling pressure on the wick right now with today's activity. We've got the follow through of breaking out of the wedge. RT is above 1 on the S&P 500, and it's doing so. Let me see something here. It's doing so. Let me see what the volume is. Ooh, on lower volume. On lower volume than yesterday's activity. So that doesn't make me feel very warm and fuzzy with the follow through today on lower volume. Go look at the same thing on the VectorVest Composite. Now, interesting. Remember, we look at a lot more stocks in the VectorVest Composite than we do just in the S&P 500. It didn't break out of the wedge until today. The volume was right around where it was yesterday. I get more of a bullish feeling on the VectorVest Composite than I do on the S&P 500, which is trading higher today than it did yesterday, but on lower volume. Patrick, your take?
So with the S&P, I mean, it's pulling back on lower volume. That's fine. You're breaking through a trend line. So, most likely we'll see it pull back, retest that trend line. And then I'd be looking for the bounce off of that on stronger volume. A lower volume pullback day is fine. Doesn't really indicate a whole lot of selling pressure, and that's what you want to see if you're going to have a breakout. So, it might not be the explosive breakout that everybody was hoping for. We could see it easily pull back, retest that trend line, and then start to move higher from there. And that's when I'd be looking for major volume to start kicking back in.
Well, we'll see. I like the move yesterday. Nice big move in the market yesterday follow through today, but I'm looking at the pullback in today's activity today. I'm not feeling that. I'm not feeling that. If we change this to intraday 5 minute bars current day, there's the market right now. I've got three moving averages on here. I got a 3, an 8, and a 20. And we were going up nicely until about 12 this afternoon. And then, wow, starting to pull back as we're looking, as we're starting to look right now, starting to pull back. Sigh. All right. Man, starting to pull back, a little trend down going into the later hours of the day. That's on the S&P 500, all below all three of my moving averages as well. The 3 is below the 8, which is below the 20, all exponential moving averages. That doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy. Let's go look at the VVC. Do the same thing again. Intraday 5 minute bars current day. Same time frame, about 12. Yep, same time frame exactly. Freehand line. Draw it down. Patrick, holy smokes!
Yeah.
Stop, dude. For real, I'm trying to put the graphs up. Just stop.
Well, just
All
draw
right.
your freehand line, man.
All right. So anyway, the VectorVest composite showing the same things below all three moving averages as well. So now it's going to be interesting watching what the rest of the market shows. Dan says oil is up, so is uranium. I just saw something online about, again, more, what's the word I'm looking for? What does uranium power? They power...
Nuclear power.
There we go. Nuclear power plants. Looking at more activity on building up nuclear power plants. And with that, coal is still going to be the prevalent way of getting electricity, but more and more people, more and more countries are looking at building more
nuclear power plants.
Nuclear power plants. Wow, I don't know. I didn't have my Prevagen today. That's all right. So that is the deal about uranium, and I've been saying that the news with oil still hasn't changed. It's still low supply, a lot of demand. I still don't foresee oil going down too much more. All right. Anything you want to add to the graphs?
No, okay. Not on an intraday graph.
All right. First story I got is Pentagon and Lockheed Martin reach a handshake deal for 375 more F-35. So there's a good side and a bad side. The good side is we're going to get more warplanes. The bad side is we're going to spend a lot of money to get those planes. No price set yet. That scares me. I don't know how much money they're going to have to spend to get these F-35s. But it's one of the best fighters in the world. Huh?
It's probably going to be a lot.
I know. It is. But you know me as prior military, I think having a strong military is huge. And one of the best fighters in the world out there. I'm going to keep my eye on Lockheed Martin. And I still think the aerospace and defense space is also a good space all the time, as long as contracts keep coming in. All right. Anything you want to add to that?
I mean, you can't go wrong in aerospace and defense.
I agree with that. All right. Next story is Patrick's Endphase story.
Yep. So Endphase has earnings coming out, I believe, or the 26th. So next week. As you guys know, if you've been following us for a while, we've been talking about Endphase for quite a while. But Endphase, is looking really strong here. We'll take a look at the graph in a little bit. But some of the projections that they were talking about, let me go ahead and just pull this over so I can see it better. Come on. There we go. To talk about how last quarter they had an earnings beat. Some of the things they were worried about were coming in to this quarter with supply chain issues, how that's going to affect them. But at the same time, the company expects 40% sequential growth in revenues in the second quarter in Europe. And really a lot of boost from other markets outside the U.S. is really where they expect to see a lot of the growth come from. But they are expecting another beat this quarter. So, with earnings season in full swing currently, wanted to bring some potential earnings plays that, could have a nice pop. And one of the things here, Zach's consensus estimate for the second quarter is suggesting a 60% increase from a prior year ago. And that's a huge increase on earnings per share. Potential looks of where we could see the price moving to. Right now, it's trading at around 200 to 220 or so, but easily can make a case for it if it beats earnings. Depending on the what guidance they give, they could easily see this go into 250, if not even higher there. Definitely a major level of resistance right around 250, but we break 250, we could definitely see a nice run coming into the stock as well. So I like this one, especially from an earnings perspective, and it's coming up soon. So wanted to get it on people's radars.
I do like Endphase. It's a good stock to take a look at. Someone said, hold on, I just saw something in here about unemployment. There it is. Bill says it means that we're in a recession, and on top of that, that's already big layoffs in the tech industry. And I'm not seeing the news on the big layoffs yet. I see some companies talking about layoffs. And when it comes down to earnings, I've been saying that it's going to be looking at this quarter and next quarter to really see if the raising of the interest rates are going to affect companies' bottom lines. And if it does, the first place they start to cut the fat or trim the fat is cutting or releasing people. That story is not prevalent yet. But we're going to, if this quarter, the next quarter, people start getting the bottom lines affected by the raising interest rates, you're going to see that. So, Bill, I haven't seen about a lot of stories, maybe a couple of companies talking about laying off, but not a lot of companies talking about laying off just quite yet. So I'm just putting that out there. Companies are going to cut the fat, but we will be cooking bacon when the market falls. Damn right. Cooking bacon all the time.
So on the jobs cutting, you had Goldman Sachs said they're getting ready to start cutting the fat. They're getting ready to start setting up for layoffs. A lot of the big banks that deal with mortgages, they've all either cut, or what they're starting to do now that you're seeing is they're moving people into different areas of the company to try to keep them employed without having to let them go. Just finding different areas that they could be effective at. So, you are seeing a lot of talk of slowdown in job creation, a lot of slowdowns in the hiring that they're going to be doing. But yeah, I agree, not as much of a layoff rather than just slowing down the jobs that they're offering right now.
A relative of mine is in real estate, and the mortgage market is really slow. I talked about that last week. Some of the stocks that I looked at from last week were like Zillow and Open Door, and I was bearish on those. They ended up being up for the week, as a matter of fact. All right, so mortgage people are walking away from homes, walking away from home deals, so real estate is going to take a hit. But the stocks that I looked at in that space actually didn't do as well to the downside as I anticipated they would. But I'm still bearish on those. I'm with you, John. All right. Next story, Netflix. Well, Netflix was pegged to lose about 2 million subscribers. They lost about 900,000. And with that, everybody says, woohoo, that's a win. They still lost 900,000 folks. Netflix lost 1 million more subscribers, plans cheaper version with ads, what this means for you. I am still bearish on Netflix. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When you're a subscriber-based company and you start losing subscribers, that's never a good recipe for you to continue to make money. Now, keep in mind, they still have a lot of subscribers. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the world's largest streamer lost 970,000 subscribers in 3 months. In 3 months. That's just in 3 months. The company announced Tuesday its second quarter earnings report ahead of its dire prediction in April of losing 2 million. So they thought that they were going to lose 2 million. They lost less than 2 million. That is still bullish for the company. I still think personally that if the company is losing business, then that's not a good thing. Now, there's another side to this. All right, I'm going to move this story over. There's another side to this. Netflix users are leaving, but 3 rival streamers seeing big gains. Now, there's a chart here. Yeah, there it is. There's a chart here Let me spread this up just a little bit more. And in this chart, it's looking at Stars, Showtime, Peacock, Paramount, Hulu, blah, 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 blah. Notice what's picking up. That Stars is Showtime. Look at Peacock. Peacock over the last, coming from 2019 into now, picking up. Look at Paramount. How many of you look at Yellowstone? How many of you watch Yellowstone? Type of 1 in the room. How many of you watch Yellowstone? Big move. Look at that. From 5% to 8% to 13% to now 16% in Hulu. Now, Hulu is falling. Excuse me. Hulu in 2019 was 25%, then to 28%, 18, now down to 15. But I would definitely keep my eyes. And Peacock is relatively new, right? Came out in 2020 because there's no data on it for 2019.
Peacock is NBC, isn't it?
Peacock is NBC. And so that's NBC's streaming arm is now Peacock. But it's picking up. NFL accounts shared. What is Netflix accounts from shared? They're thinking about trying to go after the people who share the accounts. Like, I would never do such a thing like that. Even though I got kids, I would never share my account with any of my children. Kirby says, how many accounts lost were fake Twitter accounts? I don't know. And radio, no, that's not how it goes. That's why you just got blocked, radio. It's not that. A lower price ad-supported tier of Netflix subscriptions is on the way, due in early 2023. So what's the purpose of that? To get more people. All right, just like they're losing people, so they've got to come up with creative ways to get people. But a lower price ad support. So that means when you're watching a movie, you're going to get ads in between them. I don't want that.
I mean, that's what Hulu does now. Hulu's already had that for a while.
I don't like that. That takes away from the whole aspect of having a movie service. You know, that in my estimation, that's what I think. I don't know. I don't want the ads. If I want the ads, I just watch TV. You know, I subscribe to a streaming service or to a movie because I don't want to see the commercials. But you get the commercials, you pay less money. I don't even know if it's the less money. I don't even know if it's the less money to get it. You know why? Because the space is crowded. So it's all about which channels or which service is going to put out the best movies. And whichever one puts out the best movies is going to be the hot one for the time being. All right, it's going to be the hot one for the time being.
But what do you think inflation's going to do with it, though? Do you think inflation's going to, make people a little bit more conscious about which ones they choose and which ones they don't because of price? Whether,
Absolutely.
depending on.
Absolutely. Or there's going to be people like me that have just about all of them. I mean, so I've got Stars, I've got Showtime, I've got Paramount, I've got Hulu, I've got HBO, I've got.
But if you have all of them, though, then that's more expensive than just having cable.
Right. So now somebody like me, when inflation gets to the point where I can't stand it anymore, I'm definitely going to cut down to which ones host the shows that I like the most. So Paramount stays. Do I keep Disney? Well, I'm a Star Wars fan, so I'm going to keep Disney. So it all is going to come down to the product, the shows that are out there. People are going to stick with whatever the hottest shows, and the ones that don't have the hottest shows will be the ones that will get cut. All right. So at some point in time, you got to make the decision. Me, I'm at the point where I pay for cable and I pay for all of those streaming services. I do it all. And my wife looks at me and says, "Well, you pay the bill. You do what you want to do." And I'm like, "Well, I got to do what I got to do." All right.
I mean, it just seems, kind of funny, when you look at, or ironic, I guess is the best term for it, where the whole thing with Netflix was cut the cable cord. You don't have to watch commercials anymore. We have everything you need. Then more streaming services come on board. Everybody's been cutting cable. No, I know a lot of people who don't even have cable. For myself personally, I don't even own cable. I just have internet that comes in every month. And now all of a sudden, once they have you hooked and they have you in their, ecosystem of, hey, we're your only option. You're either going to go with these streaming services or you're going to have to deal with your cable company and go back to cable. They knew that they had people hooked at this point, and now they start to introduce it. So I'm not a fan of the whole commercial thing. But I mean, I can see how it could definitely boost it from a company standpoint. So, or it could
It's
boost
like
earnings.
watching television. I mean, it comes down to like watching television. And you know something? You know a time when Netflix was hot? Dan says the only time I invested in Netflix was under the lockdown because that's where everybody was at home. The streaming services went crazy. And then other people said, man, I want a piece of this. Disney came on board during that. You know, Paramount came on board during that. Without having people having to be stuck at home, I think that these companies are going to be affected. Nonetheless, I'm not a big fan of Netflix with the space being crowded and finding a lot more awesome lineups on other channels.
So to answer John's question as well, he's asking, how do I watch live TV and have I saved money? Yeah, we've saved a lot of money over the years. But you know, I haven't had cable since for at least since my last apartment. So it's been 8 years or so now. You know, I'll get a streaming TV service for a few months during the fall to watch football.
There you go.
After football season, I drop it off and don't ever watch any TV after that. So, I mean, we watch occasionally Netflix, Disney, but that's a lot cheaper than doing the whole, you know, cable and choosing your packages and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely saved a lot of money over the years. And the only time we only ever have cable is when we want to watch football. So,
and that's why I have cable. And then my wife wants to look at all the old shows of SVU over and over and over. She always watches all the crime stuff, so I better watch it because I think she knows every way to kill me and get away with it because she watches all that stuff. So be kind, rewind. Yeah, you remember when we used to get VHS tapes and you went to Blockbuster, but you had to rewind. If you didn't rewind, you had to pay an extra fee for that. Remember those days?
I don't remember that.
I do. It was bad. I remember that.
Maybe I just didn't pay the extra fee, so I didn't pay attention to it.
No, you paid the extra fee if you didn't bring it back.
My parents paid the extra fee because I was a kid at that point when Blockbuster was still around.
I would have beat you if you didn't. If I had to pay, I would have beat you. All right.
Well, I'm glad I'm not your kid.
Yeah. So now we talk about stocks and parenting here on VectorVest. All right. Next story, yours, Bank of America.
Yeah. So Bank of America had earnings announcement just a couple of days ago. They beat, or yesterday, I believe it was. They beat and they have a positive outlook. One of the very few major banks that have come out so far this earnings season and stated a positive view for the economy going forward. At least for their section where, you know, they have, their loans and basic loans and that kind of thing where they're making more money off of the difference between the current interest rate and the rate they have to pay. So as interest rates continue to climb, they're going to make a lot better deal. That's going to help boost their profits. They expect to have their profits boosted to, I believe it was $1 million by next quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go ahead, scroll down here and just see.
And I'm a big fan of the banks because of inflation or because of the interest rates. I don't pick up on that other thing. I'm telling you, I don't know how to
Why
do
is
that.
it not letting you see the...
Because I've reached the article limit.
So, never mind, just skip the article then.
I still
Moving on to the next one. Is Glenn has
right.
reached his limit and he doesn't know how to use technology to get around those things.
Listen, I do what I do, and I'm really good at it. All right. So this is also
my story. So this is something we discussed. I believe we briefly mentioned it last week. And so wanted to, now that we have actual articles about it, wanted to bring everybody's attention to it. Nancy Pelosi's husband invested millions in NVIDIA and sold large amounts of Visa and Apple stock and call options. But really, the big thing is, you know, a politician who's going to vote on the new chip bill that's coming out, and her husband who runs a hedge fund. And is this a conflict of interest, or, you know, conflict of interest, insider trading, whatever you want to call it? If Joey already has that pre-rolled ready to go, if you want to drop that survey, there we go. So there is a survey in the chat. Let's see everybody's opinions. Do you guys consider this, what happened, insider trading? Or is it just coincidence that, right before this bill came up and the legislation was getting ready to be talked about and make major news, that this hedge fund happened to buy a whole bunch of NVIDIA, which would benefit from the bill that just got announced and got pushed forward? So let me know everybody's thoughts in there below. But it's interesting because this is something that's happened time and time again, and it always seems to fall on deaf ears. If you recall the the COVID lockdowns, right before the COVID lockdowns, a lot of politicians sold all of their stocks, knowing what was going to happen, knowing that that was going to be, going to be causing the markets to crash. Should this kind of stuff be addressed? And if so, should we allow politicians to even trade in the stock market or have some sort of penalty if they do get caught for these kind of situations? Because right now, the people who make the laws are the same ones who are making the laws to fit their specific case. So would you guys consider this insider trading, or is this considered a political privilege, if you will? So what's your take on this, Glenn?
Aren't they sort of kind of like both the same thing? I think that they're both the same thing. But hey, use the poll to answer the question. Use the poll. Now, interesting. Elizabeth says no, because it's general knowledge, but it's still shady. So I'm going to go with that, Elizabeth, saying that it's general knowledge, but that's like me. Somebody says, well, Apple's coming out with a new phone. But I get some insider news more because I know I'm in Congress and I know something was going on with Apple that was just going to be gangbuster for the stock. That's insider trading. I think that when you go
knowing
and
somebody
say
on the
that
inside
there's
of that
a
vote
bill,
on how that's going to go,
that there's a bill in Congress that's pushing the chips. And I know that it's general news, general news, but someone who has the wherewithal to get some of that information prior to it going to the news has got an upper hand. And I think that that's what it is. I think they have the upper hand. So I think
with that, it's not only just having insider knowledge on the news or prior to the news, but also knowing, which way, or knowing that your significant other can have a big impact on whether or not that goes through.
Absolutely.
That's a conflict of interest. So, that's another aspect of it. This kind of stuff needs to stop, and, it's going to hurt the U.S. economy and hurt the U.S. as a whole if we don't get these kind of situations clarified and fixed, so that way we can put an end to this, because you're going to make more people mad and you're going to turn people away from, wanting to participate in the political system, and that's just going to make things a lot worse than where we're currently at already. So, obviously I have some strong thoughts on this one, but what is it? I think she 7x'd her salary just by this one trade alone.
Wow.
Yeah. If that's the case, we need to all start getting into politics. If you're going to be able to get away with legal insider trading just and blame it on politics, then by all means, I'm in the wrong business. I'm going to start campaigning for the next election cycle coming up.
I can't do that. I got too many skeletons in my closet. There's no way I'm getting elected. All right. But I think that when you are in a spot in Congress and you have some say in what can and cannot be done, and you own stocks in a specific space that you have some influence over, that's insider trading.
Mm-hmm.
That's insider trading. All right. So I like that story. I'm going to follow up with that story with another story about the CHIPS bill. So the Senate advances more than $50 billion of a bill to boost U.S. semiconductor production. So I did a video on this one. All right, you guys, if you're not looking at all of the videos between Patrick and I that we put out, a lot of these things are already talked about in videos that we do. So I did a video in regards to that. It was $52 billion. Did you know, though, but the current legislation comes more than a year after the Senate first approved a $250 billion bill to reinforce U.S. chip making to compete with China. In that story I talked about 20 years ago, we had 37% of the chip business globally. As of right now, we've got about 12% of the chip business globally. We've turned it over to China. There's no reason why we can't do more production of our own chips. Now, one reason why I like Apple. Apple makes their own chip. Intel used to make their own. Anyway, Apple makes their own chips. All right.
Mostly.
Huh?
Mostly.
Well, I'm going to say from the mostly, I'm going to say to them. I'm going to say, but for the most part, there's no reason why we can't garner and push up the chip business in the United States. That M1 series, Dan, is no joke. I'm about to go buy. I just went and bought a new iMac, not an iMac, but a new iPad mini. Joey opens it up and says, "That looks like my phone." It's a mini. That's what it is. It's supposed to be a mini. And as we look at that, about to buy an iMac, and I got 2 notebooks. I'm in the whole Apple universe, but the M1 chip is no joke. It's no joke. How do you find your semiconductor video? What was the date? Joey's going to put a link to that video in there for you, James. He's going to put a link in there. But put those two things together. There's a bill in the House that was 250, now down to 50. Excuse me, 52 to be exact. The Speaker of the House knows about this prior to it was released out to everybody else. Her husband, who has a hedge fund, gets this information and is making money. That ain't cool. And I think that the story that Patrick brought to the forefront needs to be talked about a lot more than what we do. TSM makes the Apple chip coming to a factory in Nevada. M1 chip rocks. Yeah, my kid works for ASML, which is the factory in Nevada. And Taiwan Semi and ASML are working hand in hand. But that's going to be big. It's going to be huge to have that that whole building. My son's still not even there yet because they're still in the processes of finishing up. Is huge. It is huge, and he's going to be part of making the chips that ASML makes. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. Joey put the link up there for the chip video, semiconductor video. All right. The next stories are mine. You know me and EVs. I can't get away from EVs. I just can't do it. It just won't happen. Chevy Blazer EV revealed, and lower price Volkswagen ID4 flagship Porsche electric SUV. And a lot of people, so I know all of the commentary in regards to the problems with EVs. They're expensive, the batteries, the infrastructure for charging, and da-da-da-da. And I've put out video after video after video that addresses some of these things. I'm thinking that as the demand is there, and there's no denying that the demand is there, lower price EVs are going to come to the forefront. Lower price Volkswagen ID4. Tesla's already doing it with one of their models, is a lower price vehicles. Now, are you going to get all the bells and whistles? No. But if price is an issue in regards to an EV, manufacturers are going to listen to the consumer, and they're going to make lower dollar EVs. I just did a video in regards to the drag on the grid. A lot of these vehicles get charged at the downtimes on the electric grid at night, not during the main time during the day. Are you still going to get cars that charge up throughout the day? Sure you will. But the main drag on the grid won't happen until the off-peak hours. The batteries are covered for 100,000 miles, 10 years, 100,000 miles. Still no issues. Nobody's talking about having to replace batteries. They're under warranty for that time. If you do have to replace a battery, though, it's going to be super expensive. Price, you're going to spend more money out of pocket up front to buy the vehicle. But I've done a video that shows that over time, the maintenance of that vehicle is a lot less than owning a combustion vehicle. So there's a lot of videos that I've done in regards to the EV space, why I like it. And a lot of these vehicles, a lot of these companies have a lot of potential to make money for you guys. We need to become more dependent on our own country instead of other countries by making our own chips, etc. You think? Absolutely. I think that we need to be more dependent in our own oil, in our own resources. I think we need to be more dependent on the rare earth elements that we can mine for here in the United States. I think we need to be more independent on everything that we do because we are a superpower. I put the air quotes. I don't think we're not a superpower anymore, but we're losing a lot of that distinction to China. But China's been in the works of trying to overcome our superiority
Here comes Glennism.
superiority for the longest time. And at some point in time, will they overtake us? I don't know. I mean,
So
the
one thing,
American
though, is
side of me says, no, they'll never overtake us. But the reality side of me shows that they might.
so Glenn, just keep in mind the cheap version of the Tesla has increased since 2021. So in about a year's time, has increased 30%. That was supposed to be the economic version, and it came out perfectly where they wanted it to be. But then since that point, it's now the overall cost has gone up 30%.
So why?
Um,
That's an inflation issue.
yeah, and
That's an
that's the thing
inflation
is,
issue.
while they're talking about lower priced EVs, with inflation, they're not going to be able to meet some of their goals unless they set their goals higher.
Or better yet, because inflation's not going to be the death of us as long as we, get through it. And at some point in time, we'll be back out of high inflationary state and be back into normal inflation. And these vehicles that are coming out, or these manufacturers that are coming out with the lower price vehicles, will bring those prices back down. They will bring those prices back down. They're high because of extraordinary circumstances right now because of high inflation. But I think that they marketed where they needed it to be. They targeted where they needed to be. But now because of inflation, it's higher than where they want it to be.
Yeah, and the miles on it. The first thing I see is that very last row on the screen right now. The range on the Blazer, 320 miles. Yikes.
It is, and it
They
is.
got a
And
long ways to go before
so,
people are going to
but
be
you're looking
interested
at the
in that.
Volkswagen coming in close to $36,000. A typical American car right now is sitting at about $40,000. It's coming right in line as an EV, built in Chattanooga, Tennessee. American, built in America, even though it's Volkswagen, but built in America. That's a good price point for an all-electric model. All right, so
Yeah, how long or how many? What's the range on that one? Because that's the Volkswagen. The 320 is the Blazer.
I can find out. I only can find out now, but I can find out. I'm thinking that the majority of these cars are going to come out in that 300 to 400 mile range. Unless you're traveling a long distance, how many of us needs more than 320 miles without in between charges? Now, there's the whole other side of that is the infrastructure. And guess what? There's already money in Congress to send out for building infrastructure. They just got to release the money to these states. Slowly but surely, they're doing that. The infrastructure is being built. So, I mean, any question that comes up against electric cars, I've done a lot of research and I've done a lot of videos, a few videos that have helped to overcome a lot of those different trepidations in regards to electric cars.
Also, did you see the article? I think it was earlier or at the end of last week that came out. I think it was the Ford F-150, the electric F-150
The Lightning
versus a diesel. And they were in Colorado and they had to tow a trailer basically. And the EV made it, even though the range was saying like 160 miles, which would have gotten it to the next charging station, it got 75 miles before the battery got to almost to the point of being depleted.
Yeah, and that's another downside to the trucks is the towing capability and the torque. It's a lot different than a combustion vehicle. A lot different. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Dan says electric vehicles reaching price parity with the internal combustion engine is seen as a key milestone in the world's transition from burning fossil fuels. And again, do I think that fossil fuels are going to go to the wayside? No. We're going to still be in combustion vehicles for quite some time. EVs don't make sense in the West. Most places are far apart, but they do make sense in cities for short trips, says Roger. Gotcha. The falling cost of producing batteries for electric vehicles combined with dedicated production lines in car makers' plants will make them cheaper to buy on average. It's going to come down. I'm still thinking that the prices that Patrick talked about of raising on the Tesla is right now specifically because of high inflation. All right. Also in the aerospace spot, both of these companies, Boeing and Airbus, securing Farnborough orders as sector stabilizes. That must be an English story. That's not how you spell stabilizes. But they're both picking up orders. For more planes. Boeing has secured over 100 firm orders for the MAX. All right, and every time Boeing gets a hand up, something happens with one of their planes and they get the bad PR again. We'll see if that happens. Qatar Airways also might be reviving a tentative deal for 25 MAXs, but 100 Boeing has secured 100 for 100 MAXs. Still faces challenges to certify a crucial new variant before a year-end deadline. Airbus on Wednesday, which is today, a deal for 56 of their family jets after budget airline shareholders backed it up. So both of these companies are, they build airlines or they build planes. Boeing and Airbus are direct competitors, but they're picking up in regards to more orders. All right, so stocks to keep your eyes on from that. Who's liable for the cancer lithium batteries are going to cause? Listen, everything is going to cause cancer. Everything. Listen, I'm holding this pen in my hand, and something in this pen is going to cause me cancer too. I think everything is jacked up from a cancer perspective. I heard there was a story that said Skittles are not even fit for human consumption. I saw that story. I was like, what's up with Skittles? I don't know. They sure enough taste good.
You want to taste the rainbow? It tastes like cancer.
That's messed up, Patrick. That is so messed up. That's not nice. We can't. This is why we can't have nice things. All right, and the last story I got coming up here is Novavax. The CDC endorses Novavax, a more traditional COVID vaccine. Now, this is another crowded space. Energy, you're here. Energy and I were going back and forth on Twitter about this. There is a good sign to this for Novavax is that it's a more traditional COVID vaccine as compared to the mRNA vaccine. A lot of people were afraid of that because it was new technology, and a lot of people say it's going to change your DNA. Do your research on that. That's not what it does. But I think that more people will take to Novavax because it is a more traditional COVID vaccine as opposed to the mRNA. If you've been waiting for a COVID-19 vaccine built on a different technology than those previously available, now is the time to join the millions of Americans who have been vaccinated, said in a statement endorsing an earlier decision from an influential advisory panel. I am not a big fan of COVID stocks. Patrick brought up, like last month, a story here that showed that a lot of people don't want to take the vaccines. The vaccines are being produced. They're being sent out to the other countries, and other countries are doing what with them, Patrick?
Throwing them in the trash.
That's kind of where we stand when it comes down to these stocks. I think that Novavax may have an upper hand because it's not mRNA technology. More people may feel more comfortable taking that as a vaccine. We'll see. So I think it's got some upside from that perspective. All right, let's get into the stocks now. Let's talk about this from our picks. Viewers, let's start with mine. And guess what? We were going to look at customer picks. Nobody gave a stock pick for us to look at. Not a one. So guess what?
None of your guys' stocks get looked at today. That's
so guess what? That's right, Patrick. Ain't none of your stocks getting looked at. I'll put up another community post after this. If you want us to look at some of your stocks, you got to let us know in the chat. In that post, when we post it on YouTube, go to that post and tell us what stocks you want us to look at. All right, let's go look at my picks from last week. Nope, nope, Alton, not until next. You got to go to the post. I had 11 stocks last week. I'm still on, just like I am this week. I'm still on the semiconductor space. I think that if this bill goes through, these stocks are going to take off. I still feel that Taiwan Semi is in here. I thought that all of my stocks, let me go back a week though. I thought all of my real estate or housing stocks were going to go down. I thought all my housing stocks like Zillow, Remax, Open Door, and Redfin were supposed to go down. We'll see what happens with those. And Canoe, GoEv with a new car coming out as well. So those were my stocks from. That was the order with Walmart. That's what the GoEv for. They got 25.
And it's a Wall Street Bets short squeeze stock.
Is it on the Wall Street Bets short squeeze?
Oh yeah.
All right. I don't always pay attention to that, but I like that stock from last week as well. Let's do a quick test of all of them until today. Wow, 8.23%. Now, that would be a great number if I wanted them all to be bullish. But remember, I didn't want Zillow to be bullish. It went up 10%. I didn't want Remax to be bullish. It went up 5%. I didn't want Open Door to be bullish. It went up 8.89%. And I didn't want Redfin to be bullish. It went up 17%. Hell, I mean, the picks that I made last week were really freaking good picks. But there's AMD, chip stock, 15%. GoEv, 14%. OWN, another chip stock, 14%. Twitter, up 8.29%. Another chip stock, up 6.93%. TSM, up 6.24%. And I was thinking that we were going to be a little bit more bearish, so my SQQQ went down, killed me. So, all right, let's go take a look at my picks for this week. Go take a look. And again, I'm with chip stocks. Another chip stock, AVGO. There's Netflix. I'm not bullish on Netflix going into next week. And you know something interesting that it's up. Why? Because they lost less subscribers than they were. Thinking that they would. I like this. Keep your eye on this stock. This is a lower dollar chip stock, UMC. It's got good upside potential. Boeing and Airbus are in here, along with Lockheed Martin with the deal to bring out a lot more F-35s. There's Volkswagen, Novavax, and General Motors. All right, so those are my stocks. Sorting these by relative value, which stocks have the best upside potential. There's that little chip stock, UMC. I'm telling you, folks, keep your eyes on that stock. It's a sell recommendation, but it's got great upside potential. It does have good earnings growth. Let me move this over. It does have good earnings growth, positive earnings. Broadcom also in the chip space, about $500 though. Nicely undervalued, good upside. Chips, top 3 stocks in my list are chip stocks. I'm telling you, keep your eyes on the chip stocks. Airbus with their orders. It's got an upside potential of 43% higher than the AAA corporate bond. Volkswagen with their lower dollar EV, 26%. Should beat a AAA corporate bond by 26%. Netflix, we already talked about. Novavax, undervalued biotech, good news, different technology, maybe more comfortable for a lot of other people, growing their earnings, double digits. General Motors, Lockheed Martin with their order for the F-35s, and Boeing for their orders for the MAX. So I'm going to graph all of them really, really quickly. I'm going to look at them strictly from a technical perspective.
So while you're pulling those up, I just wanted to get your opinion on it. So the whole Netflix thing, they reported earnings. Obviously, earnings weren't great, but then again, they didn't lose as much. Kind of reminds me of reminiscent of Dr. D's March 09 essay, the market's itching to rally, where the news wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be, so stock went up. Kind of has that kind of feel to it a little bit. We've seen a lot of different bullish divergences. Maybe there's something more than that we're overlooking here.
All right, so now I'm gonna bring it back to Dr. D. Always is written about beware of what? You remember? Beware of the July high. We always get this high in July, and what do? We fall back hard. So that whole wall of worry, that whole bullish divergence, I am saying When I looked at that market timing graph, I'm not feeling real warm and fuzzy, but Dr. D has written that on more than one occasion in the views. Beware of the July high.
But we're
And
not even close to the wall worry today.
I'm calling. No, you're right. Not the wall of worry. I'm still going to keep with the July high. I think that we're still in a lot more downside potential than upside based upon that. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. And the story is still suck. Inflation is still a bad thing. And it's still the headline story. Oil is an issue. Supply ain't there. That's going to be a big part of inflation.
I don't know. I see the market itching to rally soon, and they're going to say everything's baked in because the market's always forward looking. You know, when everybody thinks the worst is going to happen, they say it's already baked in because the market's forward looking, and then everything takes off.
Well, so the thing is, we won't know until it happens. Two different opinions. I'm sticking with that whole Dr. D thing because he's been right more times than not to be aware of the July high. So we'll see what happens. All right. UMC, the 3 and the 8 cross. I still like this as a low dollar stock in the chip space. I'd like to see it go above the 20-day exponential moving average. Chip, the 3 to 8 and above the 20, a little bit of a spinning top right now. Wow, AMD looks good. That's a good looking play right there. Coming off the low, RT is above 1. Got a level. I don't know what. That's not a real level of support resistance. All right. I like AMD in the chip space right now. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Interesting in the polling, 21% said no, it's not insider trading. All right. Interesting. Very, very interesting. How many votes? Only 61? All right. That's very, very interesting in regards to that. There's the Airbus, kind of choppy, I'm not liking all the gaps, but still above all. A new run. So it's still above all 3 moving averages. A down day today, but the 3 still above the 8, which is above the 20, the longer term from a swing trade perspective. And I'm not feeling the fall in volume either. The story is good. Looking at the stock. There's Volkswagen running up higher, above the 3, above the 8, above the 20. A little bit of a down day today, a little bit of a bearish. Harami RT is not above 1. Volume is settling in around the same. Went from a sell to a hold. Wow, Netflix, even coming back. Look at that on bigger volume today too. Less than expected losses, subscribers, and I'm thinking more and more people think that it's a bullish move, that it's a bullish feel. We'll see. RT is above 1, and it's above all 3 of my moving averages. Novavax, choppy. I'm thinking that with the news for the new vaccine, it could run. The 3 is below the 8, but still above the 20. A lot of give back today, a lot of profit taking, I'm thinking right now, based on the news. We'll see. Next one, GM. I'm liking that more and more manufacturers are getting in line with EV space. RT still below 1. Watch the falling volume as the stock's price is rising. We'll keep our eyes on that.
I would not buy it. From somebody who's played GM multiple times before, I would not buy GM based off the EV trade.
Well,
they're probably the worst in terms of range and everything. Granted, they have the manufacturing capability, but their performance is by far the worst in the industry. The only other one I can think of is what's those little cars? The Coopers, and they have like 160-mile range.
Well, 160-mile range is kind of ludicrous. That's really kind of ludicrous. You know, 320 miles, I think, is industry standard for a smaller EV. So I'm not going to say no on that. I'm looking at the news. The news is pushing up a little bit. The technicals are telling me another story that it is moving up. Right? So I'd keep my eye on it nonetheless. LMT, man, a harsh space, but the F-35s may definitely drive it higher. 2 big solid days. We'll see. It's news driven. We'll see. The technicals aren't telling me that, but Boeing looks a lot better. The 3 to 8 to 20, RT above 1. I'd like to see more volume, but I am definitely liking that uptrend on that stock. So those are my stocks. And let's get to yours. Let's start off with yours from last week, Patrick's picks. Let's go back 1 week. Patrick had 5 stocks. Let's go quick test them. 14%. Every single one of them made money. Were you bullish? Were you bearish on any of these?
Nope.
There you go. Good moves. Good moves. LABU, MU, chip stock, GME. Nice move on GME, but boy, the natural gas, big move. 42% in 1 week, and Meta's up over 11%. Nice picks. Blew the market out the
LABU,
water.
I'm surprised it's not as strong as it was, or it's not stronger, but hey, I'll take it.
I hear you. All right, there's your stocks. Let me put it back on the stream. And there you go.
All right. So these are my 4 stocks. Obviously, Endphase, clean energy, which obviously is a big area in the market right now. Plus, they have earnings on the 26th of July. So there's a lot of positive signs that, there could be a big earnings beat, which you could see a huge jump in the price of the stock. Right now it is more of a conservative play where it has poor longer-term potential over the next 1 to 3 years, but less risk associated with it. And it's been in a really hot uptrend, so therefore the RT is above 1. Next one, NVIDIA. Can't really bet against the best trader in all of Congress, so got to go with Nancy's picks with NVIDIA. And until when to sell on this one would be whenever Paul Pelosi decides that you're seeing their Q13 or F13 filings that they sold their NVIDIA position. So that's when you would sell on that one. GameStop obviously made 10% yesterday, or 10% over the last week. Still going to be one of my top favorite stocks right now. The marketplace is really, holding in strong for the most part. All of a sudden, with GameStop doing well over the course of this whole beta release of their GameStop marketplace or their NFT marketplace, it started to see the short-term mindset or the opinions of people changing on crypto as well. That seems to be cooling off since that big sell-off we've had in the crypto markets. So I think now, with the split coming up, first day of trading is going to be on Friday under the new split adjusted price, with no big announcements so far yet on the major partnerships for the GameStop marketplace, the NFT marketplace. Those are still set to be announced. I think there's a lot of upside potential still left with GameStop, so I wanted to add it back in my list here with that one. And then Bank of America, we talked about earlier. Good earnings. They expected to continue to grow their earnings, and one of the only major banks in the U.S. that has really had a positive outlook on the overall economy. So I like what we're seeing with that one. As we've always talked about, from all the major banks, Bank of America stands the most to gain when interest rates rise, and we're actually starting to see that. So, Bank of America, while pulling back a little bit here today, could be a nice entry opportunity here.
Let me answer your question about ADIL. That stock, remember, that was one of my phase 3 stocks. I said it was a speculative play. I don't know if FDA catalyst information came out on it. If any of those stocks from that list that I gave you are falling, remember I told you if the FDA didn't approve those stocks, they would fall. So that was to answer your question about ADIL.
All right, so let me go ahead, put those up. Let's go ahead and graph them here. Zoom out. Let's go 3 months. Actually, let's even zoom out a little bit more. Let's go 6 months on these, and then change my graph layouts here. All right, Glenn, let's see if you're being honest about it or not.
Keep going.
Hey, you actually got it in here today.
I told you it was in there before.
It wasn't in there last week.
It sure was.
All right, so with Endphase, you have this level of resistance that you're coming up against right now at 219. It's been, steadily moving higher. You have the higher lows here. MACD's in positive territory, been kind of consolidating here over this last few weeks. DPO is also in positive territory. We're seeing a softening as we come into that or approach that level of resistance again at 219. Got to really zoom out to see the bigger picture. Why does this look okay? So with this one, you have resistance coming in. Let me go ahead, use this. Coming in around the 250, 249, 250 range. That's going to get you back into this consolidation where you tried to break out last time, failed to do so, came back down. You know, if you recall, this has been one we've been talking about for the last couple of months, or I've been advocating for the last couple of months, even last earnings season, when it was trading around 150 to 160. So now that it's had a pretty big increase even since that point, I'm still pretty bullish on it, especially with the earnings outlook going forward. So this would be one for an earnings play since we are in earnings season. I like this one. Definitely going to keep it on my radar for the earnings pick. Going into the next one, NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, obviously, can't go wrong with that one. I like the setup even on the chart. MACD still has a lot of upside potential left in it. You know, once we break that neutral territory of 0, then that puts it in a longer term uptrend. You have the 3 and the 8 over here. So 3 and the 8 are positive, obviously. Let's go ahead, zoom back in.
I like that move right there,
huh?
the 3 and the 8. I really like that move. That's a good looking graph.
Yeah, and over the last 3 days, you have really strong volume here as well. DPO just turning positive. Get rid of this trend line. Obviously, we've broken through that. Do I still have? Don't have it. Why is that on here?
It's your graph.
I didn't put 200.
Whatever, it's your graph.
Use the 200.
Blah blah blah. It's your graph.
All right, so I'm gonna have to fix it here. Boost that back up.
You know that's a simple, right?
Huh?
You know that's a simple moving average, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you're looking at 50 and 200-day moving averages, you tend to look at simple moving averages. Exponentials are for shorter time frames typically.
Not that I didn't know
that,
you know. Jerk. I already knew. He didn't have to tell me. I just wanted to make sure that he knew what he was doing. He told you, though. He didn't tell me. Hush up before I fight you. Holy smokes.
So there we go. So with NVIDIA, the other thing I like about this one is not only, you know, are you seeing the short-term bullish signs, take off support resistance, but you also have the price action breaking above the 50-day moving average. If we can continue to climb, retest that 200-day moving average. We break the 200-day moving average from a longer-term perspective. That 50 days is going to pick back up, cross above that, and then you're going to have a really nice long-term entry. So,
hey, when's the last time that the 50 and the 200 crossed on this?
Huh?
When's the last time the 50 and the 200 day cross?
On to the upside or the downside? Because the downside back here.
No, to the upside. Put it on a longer graph. I'm curious. I'm just curious. There we go. Way back before the stock took off, didn't it? Yeah. Wow.
Whew.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to see, that because you're right. It just crossed above the 50. If the 50 and the 200 day cross, look at what the potential is on this stock.
Where is that at? I'm trying to find somewhere right around there. 43. Now it's trading at 177.
Holy smokes.
Not bad. Not bad.
And it just took the first step.
I like this. You know, obviously we're pretty extended here on the 50 and 200 currently. So I'm looking, you know, to get a short-term trade entry as of now based off what we were just talking about. But then if we can see that momentum continue, we can see the 50 cross above the 200, then that would be an awesome opportunity to look for a longer-term entry or longer-term position as well. So that's my number 2.
Do you see Kenny's question?
Should I sell NVIDIA? I'm about 4% in the green. I mean, Kenny, we can't answer when you should sell. What's your stop? The way I'd answer that is, what was your plan that you had in place of when you're going to take your profit or cut your loss? What are your money management rules? Whatever those say are what you should be doing. You know, we don't know your entry. We don't know your exit. We don't know your risk tolerance. There's a lot of questions. You know, we get asked this a lot. of, oh, should I sell this stock, or what should I do with that stock? And, to answer that question fully, that's going to be a one-on-one conversation. We're going to have to sit down, really identify what your goals are, your risk tolerance, your entry, all of that. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to really answer that specific type of question on a stream like this. So, my best advice is, plan your trade and trade your plan.
Amen, brother.
All right, looking at GameStop. GameStop, as we can see, it's been continuing on a nice upward trend here ever since the original announcement from the split, and also the release of their beta NFT marketplace. And as we can see, we've had a nice run breaking above the 50. We were struggling. Man, somebody, let me go ahead and delete some of this here.
You know what I don't like? And there's only one thing. I'm in the stock. I ain't gonna lie. I own some shares. I don't like the big wicks at the top of these candles.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one thing that I'm not a huge fan of, but given the market was down one day, I believe this day the market was down, and then one of these days the market was down, GameStop was still in the green, up 3.5%. It's still, even with those taller wicks, it still continues to push higher. Even back here when we were seeing that consolidation, it was struggling to break that 50-day moving average, or excuse me, the 200-day moving average. And we finally got the breakout, and it's continuing to pull away. So while right now, yes, we may be a little overextended on that aspect, it may pull back a little bit to retest that 200-day. I'm looking for it to hold and then bounce off of that point and move forward. But also, just like we were talking about with NVIDIA on the 50 and 200-day moving average, one thing I do like seeing is the 50-day moving average is now starting to slope back up, heading towards that 200-day. So as price continues to climb, as more positive news comes out, as more people start getting on board with all of this and what they're doing here, that could easily push the price higher, which is going to pull that 50 to cross it above the 200, giving you that golden cross on that point. Robert's asking, do you see an inverse head and shoulders back in May? So I guess you could, if you're trying to make out that case, here would be your neckline. Here would be your shoulder line. And we're breaking out of that shoulder line, therefore invalidating the pattern. So, you could make that case that it was trying to form a head and shoulders, but with the breakout here over the last few days, breaking above the 200-day moving average, in my opinion, from a chart standpoint, that negates or that voids out that potential head and shoulders forming there. But yeah, so I like this play. I've liked this play for a while. MACD is turning positive. You're seeing nice signs with that, showing good, strong momentum, continuing to build to the upside. So yeah, of course, still going to be bullish on this play. Let's go. What else do I have in here? BAC. I like BAC. One of the nice things I've been following along is this trend line. Obviously, banks have been getting crushed here over the last 6 months, pretty much with the overall market. But one positive here, you had strong earnings, and also you broke above this downtrend that it's been in for the last 6 months just a couple of days ago. While we do see a little bit of weakness here today, it may pull back to retest this point. What are you doing? Why are you messing with it?
So they can see it.
Why can't they see it?
Because it was so light. I'm helping you out, brother.
Okay. But yeah, it may pull back, retest this trend line, but then look, if you're not already into it, looking for a new entry, see if it can bounce off of that trend line, and then just, then use that as your opportunity to jump on board. But the 200-day has been acting as a level of resistance once, twice, and 3 times. So the 50-day moving average. So I do want to see it get above the 50-day moving average here. And then that's it.
I do like the pop. I do like the pop of MACD on it too.
Yeah. Nice little bullish crossover just a few days ago, or just about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And then the big strong update pushing us back to that trend line is on strong volume. So you like seeing that. Then you get the follow through the next day. And so, yeah, I like the setup. I'd be willing to start slowly stepping back in before I'd be, loading up my full position, but at least start, getting your toes wet at these levels that it's trading at right now. Those are going to be my picks.
No, I like them. I went along with them. The ones I like your thinking on them. I like the graphs on them. So I'm good. I'm good.
And there we go. One thing I do want to take a look at. Let's go take a look at Boyle real fast. I want to see how that's doing. I know it's up 42%, but I want to see it on the chart. Let's go 6 months. Whew. Yeah, after that pullback, started reversing. Man, oh man, today's been the main big day for making money with that one.
That was a good pick, bro.
Yeah, I like that one.
That was a good pick. All right, put us on our screen. That's about it for today. We still covered a lot of stuff. There we go.
We did cover a lot of stuff today. I feel like that every week.
We covered a lot of stuff.
Oh, I was Jim Penna for a second, man.
All right. How many likes we got? We got about 49 likes. Man, were we not entertaining enough for you today? Let's see if we can get 100 likes before we leave. If we do, we do.
You need more Cafe Bustelo, I think.
Maybe I need to start drinking more Cafe Bustelos. How come you're not talking about mining stocks? Why should we? Any particular reason why we should? Is gold going up? What do we use? The gold bugs. What is it?
Huey.
Huh?
HUI.
Yeah. And we talk about this every Monday in the VectorVest software. We look at if it's the right time to be buying into these stocks. This is a 3-month view on it. What's telling me it's time? What's telling me it's time? Nothing. That's why we're not talking about mining stocks, Dan. Not yet. And when it's time on Monday, Color Guard, we do the Midas touch. We talk about it. It's not time. It's not time. It's not time. That's a 3-month view, and that's just on the 3 and the 8. It ain't time. All right, now put us back. I just wanted to answer that. All right, so Patrick.
Yeah.
You want to finish this out?
I finished us last week.
You did?
Yeah.
All right, then fine. Everybody, rock and roll. Hit that like button. I think we did a good job bringing a lot of material to you today for stocks to look at, the reasons behind them, the whole 9 yards. If you like what you saw today, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you'll be alerted to when new stuff like this comes out. With that, tomorrow, Patrick will be on YouTube at 11 a.m. Talk about the mobile app. He's already got it all set up for you. He does a really good job of walking you through how to use the VectorVest system on the mobile while you're on the go. Thursday at 2 o'clock, I'll have Trending Thursday. We'll talk about what's trending overall, and still, both of us will still give you stock ideas. All right, both of us will still give you stock ideas, so make sure you come back for that. Adios, arrivederci, ciao, au revoir, sayonara, aloha to all my peeps in Hawaii. Bom dia, salam, shalom, namaste, yas. Until the next time, folks, see ya.